over 8 years since Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. But the financial crisis still continues to cast a long shadow over all of our lives. What began as an economic calamity has morphed into something that's more corrosive and arguably more dangerous: a crisis of legitimacy, not just in banks, but in many of our institutions, including governments. We're feeling now that globalization, capitalism, even democracy are in retreat, while populism, nativism, protectionism are on the rise. And really, who's to blame the people who support these kinds of ideologies? Europe has lost an entire generation to economic stagnation. Um, Social and economic inequality is at the highest level it's been since the Great Depression. In October this month,
Welcome on into another episode of the Healthy Discussion Show. Welcome on in. And today's topic, we're talking about blockchain technology and quantum computing, right? Now, we all know that Google just the other day, they discovered the new quantum computer or the algorithm, but this is the beginning stages. There's always going to be another discovery or someone's going to build on top of that. But quantum computing, basically, for every password that you have or as far as security, it can get hacked in like point in less than a fraction of a second. You don't have to wait eons in order for that technology to take place. But some people are afraid of, well, what happens with your password? What happens in crypto if you have a ledger wallets and it's protected? Can't they break that? That could be true, but this actually would make crypto a better space because they're going to inherit that technology as well. And if you're not learning about these things right now, you're going to miss the next wave. This is like the beginning of a new development. Think about it. All industries, let me repeat, all industries eventually will use blockchain technology. This is how I know this for sure. So I use my chat GPT, right, which is better than Google to me. And even they have to figure out how to a way to they have to figure out a way to advance, right? Because if you don't use these things, you know what's going to happen? It's going to end up using you. That's what I was told. If you do not use these things, it's going to end up using you. So these are the industries that I looked up with the chat GPT. Um, some of the industries that can inherit and or enable blockchain technology, right? You have the financial sector, which is the banks. We're already going through that now with cryptocurrency. Something called XRP, something called Bitcoin, which I think Bitcoin was a government program, but that's a whole nother story, right? Because no one knows who Satoshi is, but it seems to me it wasn't designed for you to know. So you got the financial banking, you have the supply chain management. Now we all know the supply chain is very important to supply and demand. Without the chain, we wouldn't know what's happening. Blockchain technology actually makes that better, and you're able to collect more data, which means the more data you can collect, the more proficient you can be. Another one, the healthcare industry. Why do you think all these watches that you have on now, like the Apple watches and everything else, right? Android watches, or just some watches from TikTok, whatever it may be, they check your health rate, they collect data on your health, how much steps you take, all these types of things, your heart rate, your heartbeat, right? That's actually on the blockchain, or they can extract that data, right? Because it all goes to a database and they can put it on the blockchain. So, therefore, when you go to the hospital, and they already know your blood type. They already know everything that they need to know about you. Most of the time, people die because they need time in order to get the data. What's the blood type? What if we had to do a blood transfusion, right? What underlying risks did they have? What diseases did they have? How are their body type? Is not stored. So blockchain allow that to happen as well. You have real estate. With real estate will be tokenized because I have a couple of cryptos in my wallet, right? That actually make it better for this space. So now people trying to steal your deed and or your home ownership and all these other little things, that's going to be null and void because everything will be centralized. Everything will be centralized. Therefore, you can pinpoint this and pinpoint that. Right now, nothing is being audited. That's why I like RLUSD because it's the first time that the Federal Reserve will be audited. And this is due to technology, which is actually built on the blockchain. Next, they have something legal and identity verification. You're going to have something called digital IDs. Why you think some states, right? They say you no longer need to have a physical ID. They're actually offering digital ID. So they welcome you into these things regardless. People just don't put it together, right? And I'm here to put it together. Let's connect more than four. Insurance policy. That's another thing that will be on the blockchain because then it's going to live forever, right? If you have an insurance claim and you can't access your insurance claim, or they saying that you did this and you did that, all of these things will be tracked, so it's going to be better for the space. Now some people don't like things tracked all the way because there's no room for error, and or it's no room for finessing, right? That's the term. There's no room for finessing, so all of that finessing this, finessing that, that's going to stop eventually in the future. So if you don't gain these skills and or understand how these skills is going to affect you, or put yourself in a banking position, because bank is like a current, so put yourself in where the money, in front of where the money is going to flow, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. I put my money where the money is going to flow because I understand it's going to flow into blockchain. I put my skill sets, and it's good to alter your skill sets around this time, right? Always reinvent yourself. I figured out, well, look, if you're doing this and you're doing that, and whatever you're doing might be obsolete in the near future, this is the greatest time to learn a new skill, a skill that will enable you to be part of the future, like something like blockchain, something like cloud computing, something like quantum computing, right? All of these things, whoever are in these industries, they're going to be the next billionaires, the first trillionaires, right? That's who's going to be. So it's like, let's get on it. Just like pay attention to Amazon. Why you think they replace a third of their staffing with computers, with robots? Ask yourself why. Don't you believe that these companies already know what's coming? You don't believe that? Well, they do. And if they know what's to come, then they know what to do before it comes. So they're actually doing what they have to do immediately right now. Another thing, retail and e-commerce, right? Make sure that if you're selling clothes, if you're selling, make sure it's digitized too as well, because you're missing so much money on the table. Not financial advice, right? Retail will be impacted because think about it, all your customers now can be on the blockchain, and you can directly target your audience and your customers however you would like, and you can do it creatively. So this will actually enhance these types of businesses, just to name a few. But let's continue. I had to run down the list. Thank you, ChatGPT. Thank you, ChatGPT. Notice I didn't go on Google for this information. Now let's continue.
Spain's youth unemployment rate is at 45%, 8 years after the crisis. Now, there's no silver bullet to fix the many problems that ail society. But why not start with where it all began? We have an opportunity, arguably once in a generation opportunity, to reinvent financial services for a new era of trust and legitimacy. Now, the leaders of the industry today, many of the banks and others, have a choice to make. They can either do it themselves or have it done to them. Because we are entering a new era of technology. You've heard the expression, software is eating the world. Well, software is finally eating Wall Street. And the technology likely to have the greatest impact on the world of financial services for the next 20 years has arrived. But it's not big data, the cloud, robo-advisors, collaborative finance, or new entrants like Tencent and Apple Pay. It's actually the technology behind cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and it's called the blockchain. This technology will transform the industry, but it also represents nothing short of the second generation of the internet. So when you use the internet today to send and move and share information, you're not actually sending an original, you're sending a copy, and you're retaining an original. And generally speaking, that's okay. In fact, it's one of the great advantages of the internet is that we have this publishing platform that allows us to democratize information. Except when it comes to things that have value, like say money, sending a copy is a bad idea. If I give you $20 in payment for something, it's really important that you know you have it and I don't still have it. Because if I could send the same $20 to every single person in this room, the $20 becomes worthless. So it turns out it's great to have a printing press for information, but it's not so great to have a printing press for money. And this is a problem that cryptographers and technologists have been trying to resolve for years. How do you prevent this digital trail of breadcrumbs from accumulating every time you move information? Turns out it's difficult. And as a result, we rely on middlemen, intermediaries, to perform a whole bunch of important roles in business and society. And these intermediaries would be well known to many of you: banks, but also governments and big technology firms. And these intermediaries perform essential roles. They
I tell you, and I always tell people this, right? The middleman is no longer needed. You can go directly to your consumer without the middleman. All you need is an interface. And the interface is something called a phone, a device, a phone, right? That's all you need to do, the interface, right? So if you know that, right, this is actually the greatest time to be alive because the middleman is no longer needed. So therefore, as far as your profit margin, it's going to skyrocket. As far as innovation, it's going to skyrocket because using these tools, right, which is put on the blockchain and it's as a collective, and you get to see these things, right? And you could be as creative as you could be, as you want to be. Let's continue. And give credit when credit's due. I left the source of this. This is TED X. I left the source in the description, so make sure that you check out the full length of the video. I'm only going to cover about 10 minutes of the video that they talk about blockchain, and then I'm going to go to another slide where they talk about quantum computing and how I believe that both of these things fused together is the future. Also, on the other hand, if you want to support this channel, hit the AirTech EMF protector. I'm going to pin it to the top of the chat in a few. Hit the AirTech EMF protector. That protects your family and your loved ones against these harmful rays that you cannot see. But let's continue.
establish the identity of parties in a transaction. They create trust. They perform what's called the business logic, the clearing and the settling, and they keep records that can be validated by the counterparties in the transaction, by auditors, regulators, and other stakeholders. And they do an okay job, but they have some very serious limitations. The first is that they're all centralized. Anything centralized is vulnerable to hacking or to attack or to failure. This happens in the financial service industry as well as other industries. They slow things down.
Pause. And this is also why I believe that, CBDC, they want everything to be on a centralized ledger, which means that they can control what's going on and or oversee what's going on. But you got things such as decentralization that the people actually want. See, you have Bitcoin. Bitcoin to me can be centralized, right? But you have something called Monero. Monero to me is decentralized. So I like the decentralized cryptos. XRP is centralized. I own a lot of XRP, but I understand that the banks can govern those things, right? You can see exactly what's going on. Now, as far as they have other programs like torrent programs that you can have 10 accounts and they don't know which account it's going to. Thank God for technology, right? But at the same time, the point of this is to give the people the power for the first time. So anything that I hear about being centralized, and he said it's more prone to hacks and everything else, why would you then support CBDCs and anything along that nature? It needs to be decentralized, right? So then therefore it won't be easily attacked, easily penetrated, right? You hit the centralized system, that can shut down the whole system because the centralized system is like an octopus head, right? You got the tails, and once you hit the head and cut the head off, the tail gonna fall. So to me, that doesn't really make sense. It's like we're going into the future, we're halfway. No, the future is actually decentralization. Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think about that.
The settlement times for all sorts of transactions can last into the days or the weeks. To send money overseas from one country to another can take 5 to 7 days. They're also costly. To make that same transaction can sometimes cost 8 to 10%. Another big issue is that they exclude big parts of the population. There are 2.5 billion people in the world who don't have access to any form of financial services. They're part of the world's unbanked who don't really benefit at all from globalization and internationalism because they're trapped and they're not upwardly mobile. They capture data about us, which prevents us from using it to organize our affairs, but also could potentially undermine our privacy. So you can argue in some that intermediaries capture an asymmetric benefit from the digital age, and banks are certainly no exception. So, what if the internet was entering a second era, from an internet of information to an internet of value? Well, right around the same time that Lehman
Pay attention. The internet is entering a second era. Now, I wasn't born when the internet just got started, right? But if I was, most likely I would have capitalized. Now I'm glad I was born where I can capitalize off of Internet 2.0, which can be blockchain. And then to me, the 3.0 version is or let's just say the 2.1 version, right? 2.1 version. Because the 3.0 version will get created by a kid that we don't know that understands what's going on, or all he or she do is read and understand, like, they're in the position to do those things, right? But the 2.1 version will be the quantum computing. So you got blockchain plus quantum computing. To me, the future is here. Like, it's no surprise. The future is already here, like right now. Like, we're in it right now. A lot of people don't see it. The old way of thinking is no longer relevant to what's going on for the new way of thinking. Think about it like this. Now, I believe that you should always have a place to stay and all this other little stuff. But I think the point of life is actually to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, and however you want. A lot of people got a lot of cars, a lot of houses, a lot of this, a lot of that, but they really can't do whatever they want. They can do they can't operate wherever they want. See, they got to go back, check on this, check on this, check on this. You got digital real estate nowadays. Let me repeat, digital real estate, where people are actually charged to enter your digital world, your digital realm. They can pay full access via cryptocurrency, via on the blockchain. You can buy a piece of this digital real estate, right? And y'all can go in business together throughout a smart contract. So I'm saying it all to say the way of looking at life now, you have to look at everything as in a digital realm. And some people might say we're actually living in a digital realm. And it's being projected. So why not be a part of history? Why not be a part of innovation? Because it's happening. Let's continue. And I had to make this video. I just had to make this video. Normally, this is not the subject matter that I talk about on this channel, right? But this is a healthy discussion. So I had to make this video to let y'all know, look, wake up. This is the greatest time to be alive. Learn some new skill sets that will put you in a pathway, right, of what's going to take place, because it's taking place now.
Brothers went bankrupt, November of 2008, an anonymous person or group of persons named Satoshi Nakamoto outlined a new thing called the Bitcoin protocol, a way for people to do transactions and move money peer-to-peer online without an intermediary to establish trust. And the interesting thing about Bitcoin was that it worked. And it worked so well that it set off a spark that's traveled like wildfire and captured the imagination of people in many different industries, not just in financial services, but in music, in film, in supply chain management, and other areas. Underpinning Bitcoin is this revolutionary technology called the blockchain, a vast global distributed database, a single source of truth that doesn't run on one computer, it runs on all computers. And it's not accessible to a few, but it's accessible to all. Where not just information, but potentially anything of value, Bitcoin, to be sure, but also money, financial assets, intellectual property, carbon credits, energy, even votes in an election can be moved, stored, and managed securely and privately. And we're
See, this technology allows you to track everything. Like I say, the Federal Reserve have not had an audit since it opened up. So this allows you to track the money. If you can't track your money, how do you know where it's going? Like, what's budgeting for then if you cannot track your money? So you telling me that the United States has been in debt for so long and no one is there to track the money? Thank God they have blockchain technology, because this is the first time that you're able to do that. I see why Vivek and Elon has something called Doge, right? And they plan, I guarantee you, they are going to use blockchain technology to solve all of these problems. Think about the debt deficit. They're going to use blockchain technology, crypto technology, cryptography, right, in order to solve this problem. Because now, for the first time in history, everything could be tracked if you digitize it. Let's continue.
Trust is not established by a third party, but rather through mass collaboration, cryptography, and clever code. And it turns out that Bitcoin is just the start. Ethereum is a relatively new blockchain platform that's pioneered a technology called smart contracts, which is
Mhm.
basically what it sounds like, software that mimics the logic of a contract with guaranteed execution, enforcement, and payments without relying on banks, escrow agents, lawyers, courts, and the other intermediaries that add friction and cost to contracting. If you think about what impact this could have in financial services, it's nothing short of profound. Every single asset, basically, is a contract. It's a piece of paper that gives you a promissory note entitling you to something, a dividend payment, a coupon, equity in a company, etc. The Linux Foundation, no stranger to massive open source projects, has also gotten on board, launching the Hyperledger project, which now counts amongst its members thousands of technologists and hundreds of companies. So this technology has the ability to create a more prosperous world. And in our book, Blockchain Revolution, we outline how that might work. And the opportunities here are significant. Everything from enabling creators of content, like musicians and journalists and filmmakers, to get fairly compensated for the value that they create, to improving on the land titling that exists in the developing world. 70% of people in the developing world who think they own property actually have a very flaky title to that property. What that means is that when push comes to shove, there might be a duplicate claim, there might be a missing record, or there might be a lack of enforcement that prevents them.
Let's go back to that slide right there because people got to see that. I want to go back to that right there on the screen. Y'all see that, right? Protecting rights through immutable records, creating a true sharing economy, and then the remittance of ripped off. Listen, because you got some people that can finesse you off the house by just changing ownership of the house via online, right? This stopped all of these things, right? Enabling enabling citizens to own and monetize their data and protect privacy. Aha! Now it makes sense why data collection is so important. Have you noticed that all companies from Apple to Google, everyone collects data, and you always wonder, well, they let me do this for free on their platform, but within the contract, they say that they have the right to own all what? Data. I think if you own all data or data, you own the world. Because if I could tell you about yourself more than you can, and as a collective data, I can sell that to marketing agencies. I can sell that to Salesforce. I can sell that to the government. I could sell that. Now, some people might say these things are unethical, but I'm just saying, right? These are the things that you can do with a whole bunch of information. If I know your blood type, if I know where you live at, where you work at, if I know your first and last name, I can know, discover your whole family dynamics. This is the era that we're in currently. And there's nothing to be afraid of, people. All I'm saying is that become innovative with these things because you could build out this as far as blockchains. You can do things as gaming, the gaming world. Oh my God, the gaming world is going to be trillions of dollars, right? Think about it now. What they playing now? The kids are playing Roblox, Fortnite. They playing things like that. They're not playing now some may be playing GTA or the old systems that they have as far as Xbox and PlayStation and all these other little things, right? But pay attention to what the kids are playing. They playing games on the phone rather than games that you have to have a system in order to play. Think about it. First thing kid would say, "Can I see your phone?" You like, "Sure, huh?" Here the phone go. Here the phone go. You can see the phone. You can see the phone. You let them see the phone. They know how to go to the gaming place. They searching on what games to play. They know what games are free, what games are not. Like, how do you guys know all these things? But then I begin to say, hey, I'm not even going to ask how you know. Let me sit back, relax, and let me observe. Because observing kids is observing the future. Observe what they do. Observe what they don't like. Observe what they have access to. Observe how they bypass the system to get access. Just observe it. And voila, innovation will flourish. But let's continue.
to that property. What that means is that when push comes to shove, there might be a duplicate claim, there might be a missing record, or there might be a lack of enforcement that prevents them from using that as a source of income, as a way to access credit, to pay for education, to start a business. So there are some very interesting applications. I'd like to discuss financial services, though, with you today. So the financial services industry can be a complicated thing to understand. It is one of the world's most important industries. It is the linchpin of our modern economic system. Its leaders are known as masters of the universe. But when you really drill down, it actually performs 8 essential functions in business and society. Everything from enabling people to get access to a mortgage, to allowing businesses and individuals to move money around the world, to ensuring against catastrophic risk, to enabling companies to access growth capital to start their business, something familiar to all of you, I'm sure. What about accounting? Silence. Who gives a TED Talk on accounting, honestly? It's like, bring out the guy who talks about flying cars. But there's a real opportunity here to fix accounting, because accounting's basically broken, and there are 4 big problems with it. The first one is that it assumes that managers will always do the right thing. Big mistake.
Right.
Enron, Tyco, Toshiba, WorldCom, the financial crisis. This is a dangerous assumption to have when you're starting out. The second issue is human error. 35% of accounting fraud is actually due to some unintentional mistake. Poor Pam in the back office fat fingers an entry into an Excel spreadsheet, and like a butterfly flapping its wings, it reverberates across the whole enterprise and creates a big crisis. New rules like Sarbanes-Oxley, which came into effect after Enron, have done little to curb wrongdoing. And the big issue is that modern accounting practices can't really keep up with the velocity and the complexity of companies and businesses. And deciphering a financial statement is kind of like watching 2 people dancing under a strobe light. You see bits and pieces, an arm, a head, someone shaking their booty, but you don't actually get the whole picture. Because accounting is based on a principle that's actually quite ancient. It's a 500-year-old thing. It's called double entry bookkeeping, where for every transaction you record a debit and a credit, and in the end, your balance sheet balances. And it worked well in the Middle Ages, and it's worked well throughout most of...
And let me tell people, this video, I linked it to my description as well, as far as the source of, right? Let me tell you something. This video is 7 years old. It's 7 years old that they talked about this thing. We're in 2024, hell. It's 2025 in a couple days, right? 7 years. So what I'm saying is that these things are being worked on, right? That's why I own Ethereum, because guess what? That's the place where they do smart contracts. And you could be as smart as you want to be on these contracts. Hey, let's all go and let's think about it like this. Let's be very creative. They say they've been keeping us separate for a while, right? Technology is here. Blockchain is here. Blockchain, which means it's a chain with blocks on it, right? And if you want that chain, right, you can control the block. Say, for instance, me, I got partners, and I'm like, hey, bro, I want you to give me 10,000. I want you to give me 10,000. I want you to give me 10,000. Let's just say it's 10 of us, right? That's 100,000. Wow. Boom. Hey, bro, let's go buy a building. Sure. We're going to hook up the smart contract, and we're going to say that you own 10%, you own 10%, everyone owns 10%, right? We're going to say, cool. What if the bro's like, you know what? After a couple of years, well, can I cash out on my investment? Me, for the other hand, I don't want to cash out on it. I want it to be something to pass on, but sometimes you might need to extract some equity and go roll it over onto something else. Excellent. You type that up in the smart contract phase. Hey, fellas, it's 10 of us. You know what? When you want to cash out, you can cash out, let's just say X amount of percentages that won't affect the company. Take that and roll over into another project. And or we might say, look, if you want to dissolve all your shares or dissolve your 10% ownership in the company, you can run whenever you want to run to go do something else, right? Let's put that in a contract as well. Or how about you might say, well, we're the 10 founders of this building. Let's digitize this building and let's build something on top of it, and let's make it into a gaming room downstairs, and let's charge people via Bitcoin, via some type of crypto currency, in order to access this digital realm that we then create. So we have something in the physical and then something in the digital. All I'm saying is that this allows you to have a far you think forward thinking, right? However far you can forward think, right? You can run the realm. You might say, well, let's split this up. I may have a couple of more investors that want to invest, or can I sell bits and pieces of my 10% to other people? Let's put that up in a smart contract as well. Hey, you get to sell at least 9 pieces, but you have to keep one piece of remain for yourself and or for the company, right? And or for the fellows or the group or the congregation, right? So it won't affect the infrastructure of how it's being built in XYZ, but you can sell a fraction of your shares to other people, other investors that they want to invest. Put that in the smart contract as well. In the real world, you can't do that. So to me, the real world actually has limitations. Put a 1 in the chat if you believe that the real world actually limits you. Put a 2 in the chat if you understand that we have a digital realm that's actually infinite, based on one ideas. I mean, the digital realm is someone's idea as well. Am I wrong to assume that and say that? That's all I'm saying. So with technology, you get to embed your way, and or you can sell fractions of pieces. It's better. It's better because you can do things you can do in the realm that you cannot do in the physical realm. Physical realm, you might need a 3 family household, right? Not a 3 family. You got a mom. I mean, you got a dad, a mother, and then a father. In the digital realm, we don't have to be like that. You can have a mom, a dad, a father, and they have ownership of the space. Also, they can have smart contracts where people are putting up 10% of whatever they get paid to actually manage and run the space as well. So it becomes infinite opportunities. That's my point.
Modern capitalism, but there's a way to improve it significantly. So imagine every time you entered into a transaction, you didn't just record a debit or a credit, but there was a time-stamped receipt of that transaction, which went to a distributed ledger that everyone could trust was verifiable, that they could search, that they could manipulate in a way that they could gain a clear picture of the financial health of a company. Financial statements would go from this thing we do with the cycles of the moon every quarter, where we get this sort of 2D facsimile of what's actually happening in a company, to something that's living and breathing and true. How about funding and investing? That's something that I think a lot of people here know about: venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, etc. It's an industry that's dominated by investors like VCs, investment banks, and others. And there's an opportunity here to completely change that paradigm. So a funny thing happened a few months ago, actually the week we launched the book, which is that this thing called the Distributed Autonomous Organization came into existence. And it was a company like no other. It had no managers, for starters. It had no assets. It had no home office. Actually, it didn't even have people. It was just a collection of smart contracts. And it was designed as a venture fund of sorts to make investments in the industry. And by the way, those of you who are in the VC industry here today, who are accustomed to 2 and 20, you're not going to like the fee structure on some of these new companies. 0 and 0. Half the room got that, half the room didn't. So the fascinating thing about this company, more interesting than everything I just explained, was that in 6 weeks, it raised $165 million from tens of thousands of investors all around the world. So what does it mean when you're an entrepreneur? And the cost of doing business can drop significantly, not least of which is the cost of capital of raising money. But it turns out that we could be at the halcyon days of entrepreneurship here, where little companies could have all the capabilities of big companies without the legacy issues like bureaucracy and culture. The mood in Silicon Valley belies a more troubling statistic, which is that entrepreneurship and innovation, well, not innovation, entrepreneurship is actually declining. In the 1980s, 9% of people under the age of 30 had equity in a private company. Today, it's 3%. So this could help to jumpstart entrepreneurship in a meaningful way. And since barriers are lowering in industries, there's an opportunity for people, anybody, to challenge the banks in all of their core areas. The thing about financial crises is they can breed political crises, crises of legitimacy. And I think we're facing that right now. People question whether or not politicians are actually acting in their best interest. And it's led to the rise of populists all over the developed world. Now, populism is seductive, but it rarely works.
We took our brand new software company ListKit, sent.
Okay, well, you know what? I wanted to go to the quantum computing thing, and then we're going to double back on this one, right? Let's go to the quantum computing part. And this is a quick 5-minute video, and then we can expound on that as well. Let me stop sharing the screen, and let's go to the quantum computers. Because y'all know Google just discovered Willow. So Willow, I look at quantum computing as the way of the future as well, but it's going to help the crypto space, and it's also going to help the blockchain space to make it a safer space as well. Because you even have technologies that actually embed crypto defense system against Willow already, like HBAR, like XDC, just to name a few. So let's continue.
Computer that uses the principles of quantum mechanics to perform calculations at speeds unattainable by even the top supercomputers of the modern world. To understand how a quantum computer works, imagine that you're playing a game of chess and want to predict all the possible moves your opponent might make. You can do this with a classical or regular computer. It will go through each move of your opponent one at a time until it runs through all possible moves. This process, as you can imagine, can be time-consuming. However, if you had a quantum computer, it would simulate all possible moves of your opponent at once, in a fraction of the time the classical computer took. This is similar to what a quantum computer can do in the realm of analysis and computation. A quantum computer and a classical computer are similar in some ways. Both have circuits, chips, and logic gates to process information, and they are both operated by algorithms. However, the primary difference lies in how they process information. Classical computers use binary bits, zeros and ones, representing the on or off state of a current. Quantum computers, on the other hand, use qubits, which can exist in both states simultaneously, a property known as superposition. This unique ability of qubits opens up a world of possibilities, allowing quantum computers to process information in a fundamentally different way than binary bits, and potentially revolutionize the future of technology. Let's consider the concept of superposition using an everyday example. When you flip a coin, it can show either heads or tails. But when the coin is spinning in the air, what state would you say the coin is in? Is it heads or is it tails? While it's spinning in the air, it could be argued that it's both heads and tails, correct? Similarly, a qubit can exist in both the 0 and 1 states simultaneously. In a quantum computer, a system of multiple qubits can simultaneously possess multiple states, allowing the quantum computer to process many solutions simultaneously, something a classical computer simply cannot do. This capability enables quantum computers to solve problems much faster than classical computers. The magic of quantum computers doesn't end with qubits and their multiple states. These multiple states of multiple qubits can be linked to each other, or in the language of quantum mechanics, they are entangled.
Entangled?
states. These multiple states of multiple qubits can be linked to each other, or in the language of quantum mechanics, they are entangled with each other. Entangled qubits work in a way that the operations of one qubit can influence other qubits, no matter how far apart they are, and can also influence the entire system. This allows for significantly higher computational power, something that classical computers cannot achieve. Entangled qubits function seamlessly due to a phenomenon called quantum entanglement. We have already made a dedicated video on quantum entanglement, and the link is in the description. Additionally, a quantum computer looks nothing like your regular computer or laptop. When you walk into a room,
Let's just see. It already loaded all the way. I'm not sure why. Let's just back this up a little bit, or maybe I may have too many files opened up. Let's exit that. Okay, let's go.
housing a quantum computer, what you'll most likely notice first is large, complex-looking machinery, much like a chandelier, with golden, silver, and blue parts. Around it is a maze of wires, tubes, and other intricate components. The setup looks straight out of a sci-fi movie. Quantum computers have been in existence in various forms for several years. In fact, some tech companies already possess operational quantum computers that serve as valuable resources for software development and programming languages.
Okay.
The most significant advancement in quantum computing in recent years occurred in October of 2019, when Google asserted that it had achieved quantum supremacy with its quantum computer. This entailed using their specialized Sycamore processor to perform a specific type of computation much faster and more efficiently than the most powerful classical supercomputer. This demonstration of quantum supremacy validated the concept that quantum computers can indeed surpass classical computers in specific tasks by leaps and bounds, and can execute operations that classical computers cannot. This progress also prompted other companies, such as Microsoft, IBM, and several startups, to intensify their quantum research in pursuit of even greater results. Once the full potential of quantum computers is realized, it will herald a world of truly unimaginable possibilities. Quantum computers have immense computational capabilities that will greatly enhance artificial intelligence.
Right.
Quantum cloud computing services have the potential to revolutionize machine learning by processing extensive amounts of data and complex calculations at unprecedented speeds. In cybersecurity, quantum computers could uphold data encryption.
Why do y'all think that AI is taking over as well? See, so if you understand blockchain, if you understand cryptocurrency, if you understand quantum computing, and you understand AI, to me, these are the new fields that you should study. You should want to read about. You should want to put, if you have a business out there, you're an entrepreneur, you should want to make sure that your business bypass all of these products and or embed all of these new services within it if you want exponential value. So I see it. And yes, I'll be reading about these things. I'm going to give y'all a list of books that I'm reading right now about blockchain technology, cryptography. I'll put it in the description. Blockchain technology, cryptography, AI, and quantum computing. You need it. You need it. This is the new way of life. Let's continue.
Encryption during active use, providing robust protection. They are also poised to revolutionize medical and drug research, weather forecasting, and automobile battery tech.
Let's talk about the health field with this one too. Y'all know for all the diseases that we so-called have, which you can 9 times out of 10 heal it a holistic way. But imagine if you have the quantum computer for all of the problems that we had, and they're solving these things in a fraction of a second. Any disease that come to mankind will be able to be solved. Now I kind of see why Meta One of their statements for the near future is they will abolish all diseases, all virus. How are they going to be able to do these things? Ha ha. Quantum computing. They have to have the technology in order to advance. Civilization, right, doesn't advance without technology. Think about what I just said. Study history, study civilization. Technology is what brought them to a new realm. So, blockchain, quantum computing, cryptocurrency, cryptography, AI, all of those are technologies that's leading us into the future, which is here. Flying cars ain't going to be so far away because you have the quantum computers that let you know what to build in order to have this type of infrastructure being built out, and it can work in compliance. So anything isn't so far-fetched because we have the technologies here for the first time. My thing is, how much would a quantum computer cost you? Which means developers are going to be in high demand. Blockchain is going to be in high demand, if you understand that. Cryptography is going to be in high demand. Knowing how to do and put together smart contracts is going to be in high demand. Knowing how to put together and do data infrastructure is going to be in high demand. See, I asked my chat GPT, and notice I didn't say Google. I asked because this is who I ask when I'm flabbergasted or when I want to know something and all of this. I put in earlier. I said, well, what skills is needed for the blockchain technology space, right? And this is what it spit out. You need to understand cryptography. I'm reading directly from the phone, right? You need to understand cryptography. You need to have some programming skills, proficient in programming language such as Solidity, which is Ethereum, C++, Java, or Python is essential for developing blockchain applications and smart contracts. That makes sense. Understanding of data structures, smart contract development, cybersecurity awareness. That's where quantum computing and Willow and everything else come in, and just cybersecurity certs. Cybersecurity awareness, knowledge of cybersecurity best practices is essential to prevent vulnerability and protect blockchain networks from attacks, DDoSs, and everything else. Distributed systems, so I guess the architecture and the infrastructure of the system. Understanding the concept of distributing system is crucial for comprehending how blockchain networks operate across multiple nodes in a decentralized manner. You have problem-solving skills, collaboration and communication. Effective collaboration with team members and good communication skills are essential for working on blockchain projects involving the multiple stakeholders. Those are just some of the skill sets that you would need in order to be a part of a piece of this place. Understanding of data structure, a strong foundation in data structure and algorithm is important for effectively managing and organizing data within blockchain networks. So those are some of the skill sets that you may want to pay attention to. Cybersecurity, data, even if it's in the clouds, smart contract developments. If you want to be investor side, how about you own some cryptography like Ethereum? Because Solidity is on Ethereum, and you telling me, and smart contracts, that's what they made Ethereum for. Why do you think most of these projects that's launched are built on top of a product which is open source, which is Ethereum? Y'all get it? Most of the people are not going to get this for the first time, the second time, the third time. You got to really be involved and want to understand these things because it will affect you no matter what. Let's continue.
Technology. While it will take many years before quantum computers become mainstream and see large-scale commercial use, it doesn't seem like an exaggeration to say that quantum computers will eventually be powerful enough to not only solve complex problems, but also help you find your missing socks, predict the outcome of your next dinner date, and maybe even explain why you walked into the kitchen only to forget why you were there in the first place.
That's a good one. So now we're going to continue. That was about quantum computing, right? we're going to continue. And some people might say lectures are boring, but sometimes I found lectures to be the most informative thing. Sometimes entertainment is distractive, but yet it is appeasing, right? So I like to balance myself out and actually learn about these things because why not? You know, there's so much entertainment going on nowadays that it's just a bit of distraction from what's really going on in the real world. So let's stop sharing that screen and we're going to go back to, oh, that's my alarm. I have something in the oven. Let me go check that out. Let's go back to the TED Talk. Let's go back to the TED Talk. Let's go.
After the Brexit vote, the leading Brexiteers all scurried from view like rats from a sinking ship, and the political establishment was tossed into this caustic battle for control. And oddly enough, one person emerged to provide leadership, and it was the governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, who in the weeks leading up to the referendum vote and in the weeks after made speeches and introduced papers from the Bank of England that basically argued for a radical rethinking of how economies ought to function, starting with financial services. And he focused on two things in particular: fintech, which is the umbrella term to describe how technology is impacting finance, and blockchain. And one of the most radical proposals that he made, and the bank has continued to make, is the idea of introducing a digital currency to replace the existing fiat currencies that countries and intergovernmental organizations like the EU issue and control. Call it a Britcoin. That's my dad joke for the day. All right. The advantages of doing this are actually quite obvious. We have a financial messaging system. You go to Starbucks, you tap your card on the card reader, and you feel like there's a transaction happening peer-to-peer from you to the merchant. Or you buy a share and you see it show up in your brokerage account. But it's not actually a way to do transactions digitally. It's just a way to message that a transaction has happened. So if you had a native digital medium for money, you could actually transform a lot of things. And you could create a lot of benefits. The first one is speed, cost, and efficiency. If transactions settled in a native digital bearer instrument, like a Britcoin, then you wouldn't need third parties to perform all of these important clearing and settlement functions. That would drop the settlement time from anywhere from 2 days in public equities to 25 days in trade finance and interbank lending to 0 days, actually 0 seconds, and would take the cost from whatever it is in those markets to next to nothing. The second thing is performance and inclusion. If you have a new platform to build all sorts of new capability in financial services, you can do a lot more, like target the 2.5 billion people in the world who don't have access to a bank account. The basics of retail banking, again, simplifying this industry, are payments and savings, and then credit. But basically payments and savings. If you can give people a way to store value that's not tied up in a piece of land with a flaky title or in an animal that might keel over and die, and a way to make payments, say send a remittance home from their family in San Francisco to somewhere in Latin America, you solve 90% of their financial problems. We have an opportunity here to make the industry do more for more people. And then the final thing is improving transparency and reducing risk. If transactions settle instantly, then you don't have to worry about settlement risk. If it takes no time for value to reach another person, you don't have to worry about counterparty risk, the risk that the person on the other end might not have the funds to settle the trade. And in aggregate, all of these risks together reduces systemic risk, the risk that too much risk gets concentrated in one part of the system, and that can create problems overall. But ultimately, improving transparency will improve accountability and hold those in power accountable for their actions. So, to paraphrase the Beatles, all you need is trust. But what is trust? Trust is the expectation that the other party will abide by their commitments, that they will act with integrity. And it's been very difficult to get people to do that. What if we could program that into the fabric of our economy? What if we had a new protocol, a trust protocol, on top of which we could build any kind of business? So it's an exciting time.
Yes, it is.
One fraught with peril, but also lots of possibility. Because it appears that once again, the technology genie has been unleashed from the bottle. Summoned by an unknown person or persons with unclear motives at a very uncertain time in history, this genie is once again at our disposal to fix a broken system and to transform the economic power grid and the old order of human affairs for the better, if we will it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm leaving you guys with that. Let me know what you think in the chat. Subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. This is the beginning. This is not the end. Another episode of the Healthy Discussion Show. Hopefully you guys learned something and gained something on today. That's the point of this. Blockchain technology is the future. Quantum computing is the future. AI is the future. And also cryptography. Crypto is the future as well. So make sure that you're in those industries or you're keeping up to date with the developments that's going on in those industries if you want to have a bright future, right? This is the greatest time to be alive. I don't care what anyone says. Along that side, remember, peace, blessings, and love. Hit the bell notification, subscribe to the channel. I linked the product, the digital product that I'm selling. AirTech technology, EMF protectors. I also have some credit monitoring services in there and some business funding in there as well. So feel free, you get a wonderful discount when you click the link. On that note, peace, blessings, and love. And remember, positivity of